Mabuhay, Kamustiga, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, and you haven't heard from me for a while here on a live stream. So it's been, I don't know, a year or so since I did this, and my original intention was that I was going to avoid doing any live streams for a while, try to get up to 1,000 subscribers. I don't remember what I had at the time, but just wanted to say my situation has changed. I do have more available time than I did before, so there's less rush to do these. And so I'm thinking about doing a live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow night, that should be Friday, another quick week, probably 5 p.m., the 12th. And I want to talk about tomorrow the type of man that a Filipina falls in love with. Now, my channel here, Love Beyond the Sea, started about 3 years ago, fittingly enough, on Valentine's Day. And it was 3 years ago. And I want to help people to see the value in looking for a Filipina to marry. There are probably quite a few channels out there in YouTube where somebody like me, that's a Westerner who married a Filipina, has a few things to say about it. And I want to tell you that one of the main differences is I have more than a few things to say about a relationship with a Filipina. So, as I remind you, I'd like to do a live stream tomorrow, 5 p.m., about the type of man a Filipina falls in love with. Uh, Love Beyond the Sea, I think we got over about 705 videos now out in that time. My wife does not like to be in the videos. That's, I guess, a Filipino either likes it or hates it, and she does not. There's no threat of her doing live streams and talking to Western men like some people assume. That's hell will freeze over before that happens. But I'm here to help other guys do more than just know that a Filipina makes a great wife. You've probably heard that hundreds and hundreds of times in your life, that a Filipina makes a great wife, and they certainly can. Lots of women can make you a good wife. I married a Filipina. Does she love me? Am I the type of man that she can fall in love with? Does she fall in love with you right away, or can it take a few years? Is that okay with you? Well, maybe we can talk about those things tomorrow, but since I haven't been on the air here for a while doing this, I just wanted to just talk about the channel just a little bit, in case somebody's not familiar. Try to help men go deeper in their marriage to a Filipina. I really never cared about dating a Filipina or dating anybody. I wanted a wife, and that's what I got back in May of 2015. And so I've put together hundreds of videos to talk about experiences that a man needs to have in marriage, and not just dating. I mean, getting married to a Filipino, I think, is really simple. It's not that hard. Why do I say that? Well, I married my wife in less than 8 weeks. That was in 2015. We were separated by 9,800 flight miles. I proposed to her on day 18. Flew down there, met her. We got married, did our honeymoon, came back, did the spousal visa, and now we have been married. We just passed a couple days ago 5 years and 9 months. So for getting married that quick and still being married and being happy, I have a lot of things I can talk to you about, what you need to know when you are married to a Filipina. I can help you with things you need to know beforehand, thoughts about the culture, thoughts about the Philippines, thoughts about Filipinas. I've made many videos about that. Things you need to know to be comfortable talking online to a Filipina, because that's often the way it works is you do this online. That's how you get it started. I can talk about that, talk about things to talk about with her and all of that. And I don't think finding a Filipina to marry is that difficult. I think it's more challenging to know how to be the type of man she will fall in love with, the type of man that she will respect, the type of man she will follow, the type of husband that she will stay with. So tomorrow, the 12th, Friday, 5 p.m., should be back here. I have a lot of places to go tomorrow and try to be back here, see how that goes. I would like interaction. That's the main thing I'm looking for here on Love Beyond the Sea if I'm going to be doing these uh, live streams again. Just want to let you know I have on Podbean and there's Chrome, Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn. Those are podcast platforms, and we have what's called Casting Beyond the Sea. That's the podcast version of Love Beyond the Sea, the video version, trying to just reach maybe a different group of people, people with similar interests, but maybe some people there that, don't really care about, a lot of fluff, and they just want to get down and get dirty and hear what they need to hear what they need to know about having a relationship with a Filipina. I've got approximately 90 podcasts on there. Excuse me. And I just try to keep doing those as often as I can. Like I said, over 700 videos on Love Beyond the Sea right here where you are. 3 years coming up, celebrating on Sunday. And I've got, at least 250 other topics written down, yes, on the computer that I haven't even got to yet. So I'm really in this for the long haul, and I do want to do this for a long time. And I would like to be able to have people to interact with. You can certainly leave comments on the videos. Um, I need to have more of those comments, and I'm not sure how often I'll do these live streams. I think if people want to tune in and they want to talk and they don't really want to mess around and they want to get down to business and talk about the things that they think they need to know about with pursuing a Filipina and being married to a Filipina, that's the main thing. I never prayed to God for all those years I was alone for a girlfriend, because I didn't want a girlfriend. I wanted a wife. And there is a huge difference between having a girlfriend and having a wife. As a boyfriend, you really, you're not her head, you're not her husband. She doesn't really have to follow you or do what you say. You're just another guy. You're just a boyfriend. I'm more serious. I wanted to get married. And so that's what we're going to do. And so for those that haven't seen me for a while, um, just want to let you know my hair is real. It's always been real. So are my topics. They come from the heart. They come from experience. That's what I want to share with people. Also, there has been a nasty rumor going around about me here on Love Beyond the Sea. And I thought, well, I'm just going to, instead of tossing and turning all night, I'm just going to come here and talk about it. Not talk about it, just dispel it. And that is the notion that, well, I must have sex twice a year at most. That's all my Filipino wife will give me, twice a year at most. Very important. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true at all. In fact, I want to try to help you to be the type of man a Filipina falls in love with, and who, if he plays his cards right and treats her right, the sex will be one of the least things um, of importance to him that he has to worry about. So that's all part of being a good husband. Like I said, I've known my wife. Well, we've been married for 5 years and 9 months, and we've known each other for 5 years and 11 months. That's it. Another thing before I forget here, since I'm kind of doing a promo for the channel and the podcast as well as the live stream tomorrow, and I hope you would join me there. Thank you for the thumbs up. Tomorrow, that would be Friday, end of the work week, 5 p.m. Be right here. How to Hawaiian. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me here. I didn't announce this at all. You know how to. I don't have 1,000 subscribers. If I had 1,000 subscribers, I could just do what's called a post. It's just an announcement. Let everybody know that I am going to be doing a live stream coming up. That's great. Well, I'm not one of the lucky ones that has 1,000 subscribers yet. And Sunday is going to be 3 years that I've been doing this. About 90 podcasts now, probably 705 videos designed to help men out there, single or married, but especially men who, like me, you just may be seeing this for the very first time. You're wondering who this guy is. But as I've said many times in my videos, I was alone for 30 years. I wanted to get married very, very badly in my 20s. I didn't think that would be a problem. I just thought, okay, now's the time to get serious. 20s passed, 30s passed, 40s passed. Now we're talking some real depression, frustration, confusion. Got into my 50s. And at 53, I thought, what, is it over? Is this a cruel joke? How am I supposed to find anybody? The women, I was 53, and the women here in America that were 50, I think, stopped being interested in somebody that was 50 or above, and they started looking for younger guys. Well, where did that leave me? Well, I ended up looking for an international dating site. It was called Christian Filipina. I won't talk about that much today, but that's where I found my wife. Got married to her very quickly. So, we've hardly known each other outside of being husband and wife, where we have some real responsibilities to each other that were part of my, when we started chatting, that's what I really wanted to talk about. Since I want to be a husband, I told her, I'm here to get married. I'm here on this dating site to get married. That's what I want. That's what I need. And here's what I'm looking for. And here's how I think marriage would be to me. And so I think that either appealed to women or not. Urban 9, how are you doing this evening? Just checking in here. I don't know what, it's been a year since I've been on here in a live stream. But, my situation has changed. I'm not going to get into that too much, other than still trying to piece my body back together. Everything seems to be falling apart here. So I'm going to have some more time for live streams. We'll see how I do that or not. I mean, how often. Tomorrow we'll start with the type of man a Filipina falls in love with. That's what you want, right? You don't want a Filipina to just be with you because you're a foreigner, because you're from America or somewhere in the West, because you have a long nose, because you've got white skin, because you apparently have some money, or because you're older and you're not going to live very long. That's not love. Tomorrow, we will talk about the type of man Filipina falls in love with. And that's the type of woman she will stay with. So that's tomorrow. And I just want to remind you here, we're still working on how to get this book out. I don't think it's going to cost very much, but I do have a book out. It's about 600 pages. It'll be in PDF file. And I'm calling it a match, or no, I'm calling it Meant to Be, a match made in heaven. Meant to be, a match made in heaven. It'll be a manual for how to meet, marry, and navigate life with your love beyond the sea, because it's got like 600 pages. About 20 of those are photos. I think I've got, I can't remember, like 279 chapters, articles, whatever. That's why I call it a manual. It's just a manual. And it runs from what was I thinking, where it just goes in order here. What was I thinking at that time when I was about ready to, hang it up or hang me up? I was so frustrated. And so what was I thinking? My perspective back then. Then considerations for a Western man before looking for a Filipina. How I found my wife. That'll be a whole chapter about Christian Filipina. I also decided to put in the book a chapter on young men in Filipinas, because there are Filipinas who want a younger man. There are some Filipinas who do not want a younger man. If you're a younger man, just be aware that you could be in your 20s, upper 20s, like I was, and end up being in your 30s and then 40s before you realize, maybe I should have done something sooner. If you're thinking that on these Filipina dating sites, all they want is the older men, that's not true. That's not true. Young men have advantages over people like me. I am 59 now. I think parts of my body are more like 100, if you could hear that crack. But some women, they want somebody in their 50s, more mature, maybe, more financial means, learn from their mistakes, less into games. But there are advantages for young men. There are always advantages for young men. But even those young men, with all they can bring to the table to a Filipina, still have to be the type of man that Filipina falls in love with, whether he's 22 or 25 or 55 or 65. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the type of man Filipina falls in love with. Davao dreaming. Well, I hope I'm not fit. I'm trying to get fit, by the way. But right now, I'm not. Kind of sore. Got some issues, but you can either just give up or keep grinding away, and we're going to try to do whatever I can to be healthy. This book also talks about dating insights. You're going to have to know some things about dating a Filipina. It's a very long distance relationship. It's not the same as picking up the phone, going over, meet somebody for a movie. There's some things you have to know. There's some things you have to know about scamming, stereotypes. Filipinas, what do you need to know about Filipinas? Well, I can help you with that. I've been married to one. Family considerations, that'll be in the book. Age gap, you got to have information about an age gap, of course, as many men, older men, have and want an age gap relationships. But that can backfire. It can be disastrous. It all depends if you know what you're doing. If you can be the kind of man that can pull that off. I can try to help you with that here on Love Beyond the Sea. Marriage skills, going to have a big chapter on marriage skills, because that's what matters. I'm trying to teach here. I'm not trying to make anybody's day or have a good time. I mean, not that we can't, I suppose, but life is short. Time is short. If you're not married, you need to get married, and I want to help with that. So I want to stick to it and help you. So we talk about marriage skills. What I love about being married, yeah, it's better than I was hoping it would be or thought it would be. Living in America, how that affects the Filipina. some people have the impression, oh, it doesn't matter where she is. She could live on the moon and she would adapt and she would be fine. And I can tell you why that isn't necessarily true. As we move through the book, we'll talk about retirement, thinking about your Filipina's future, and then there's something on just all kinds of motivation about being married. That's in the book. Now, up there you see my new website's not so new anymore. Mr. E put that together. You see it's http lvbts.com. That's the where all the Love Beyond the Sea social media is. There's a Twitter on there, and there's Facebook. There's a private consult link. Podcasts are all on there too. And that's lvbts.com. In case I thank you for the thumbs up. In case I say something that's a little bit too controversial, you know how social media has been, Facebook and Twitter. You say something that gets somebody's nose bent out of shape, and then you get censored. And you know, I'm small. My channel is small, and so I could say something controversial and nobody would know it. And I suppose, you know, there's certain groups of people I could say something that they might not appreciate. I'm not trying to be disagreeable with anybody, but there are some things I say that are controversial. So in case everything falls apart, the dam breaks loose, I have to have another landing spot. So lvbts.com is my safe spot. You can go there too and get the podcasts and get the videos. Casting Beyond the Sea, that link is also in lvbts.com, but the link is also right up there if you have not seen it or been there. So this will be a short, kind of long promo, I guess, but you know, I just turned on the computer here. Parabiology 101, good to see you here tonight. Thank you, everybody that's here. Thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that, Parabiology. I can be controversial. I mean, for example, I believe that a wife is to be submissive to her husband. I don't think that's even, I mean, it's incontrovertible. It's true, but it's controversial. There are women who, of course, don't want to hear that. I don't know how you can have a marriage work without somebody that's not necessarily in charge, but somebody that's responsible, somebody that needs to make the calls and the decisions. And whether anyone likes it or not, that's the one, that's the man. And that's my job. And so, you know, I talk about that. And I talked about that with my wife before I married her. And we talk about, what does submission even mean? I should say, hon, or anyone should say to their wife, I'm in charge. One day God's going to come to me, say, how did you handle that? Why did you let your wife do that? Why didn't you protect her? Why did you decide to do that? Why didn't you do something else? Can you defend your decisions? I have to defend my decisions. And sometimes my wife, you know, isn't happy with me. It doesn't happen a lot, but that's what I mean by kind of controversial thing. I've done a video and I've done a live stream on that if you want to get more information on that. But that's just part of having a good marriage. You're both equal. Me and my wife, you and your wife, you're equal. And if you're engaged but not married and get married one day, you're still going to be equal, but somebody's going to be responsible. And they've got to think through some things. We have to make some unpopular decisions, but they always have to be, they want to be right, you know. Even if my wife, you know, doesn't necessarily agree with me, I need to be able to explain to her, hon, this is why I'm taking this unpopular view. Because ultimately, God is number one. I have to follow God. If I lose my wife, if I lose my job, if I lose everybody else and everything else, God comes first. So yeah, parabiology, the man has to be the leader and bears responsibility. The leader does not mean, as I say in the video, in that live stream, the leader is not the one that says, it's my way or the highway. Do as I say or else. Because if you do that, as you may find out tomorrow, you will not be the type of man that a Filipina stays in love with, even if she may be in love with you at the start. I mean, there's a lot of finesse in a marriage. You can get away with a lot. Bad habits, I think, in just a dating relationship, especially online. But I met my wife one day, and 54 days later, we were married. We had the papers, we had the witnesses, we had the ceremony, came back, and then she was with me about 8 months later. Went pretty fast. And then it was for real. Then it's like, oh, this is what marriage is like. It's a little bit different when you're just talking to each other online. I call it pulling the goalie, getting rid of the safety net. Now it's just you and her, and largely your decisions and your attitude and your outlook and your motivations for the things that you say, this is what I want to have in my marriage. I need to take a look at that hidden comment here for a second. I'll just show this if I find my new mouse here that Isa got. Clicker. Yeah, there's feminists, they wouldn't like the idea of submission, I guess, but if you're a man, you got to be a leader. Somebody's got to lead, and it better be you. So that doesn't mean that you make all the decisions, because if you do that, she's not going to follow you. If you don't understand why she feels the way she does, even if you say, "Hun, we got to go a different direction with this," well, then she's not gonna follow you. Yeah, she might, but it's just going to be more difficult. So you make mistakes sometimes. Just talking about this while I'm here and while you're here, as far as submission and headship, sometimes you make mistakes and you say, this is what we're going to do and why. And sometimes you might be wrong. And then you just have to apologize and say, well, I made the wrong decision here, and here's why. Here's what I should have done. Here's what I'm going to do next time. And that's just because you're human. What the wife needs to know is, she knows that you care about her and the relationship, and you're doing the best you can. You also want to, of course, not try to control her. My wife is going to be starting some college here, thinking of 2 or 3 months, and that'll take a couple of years, but it's something she wants to do. And I might say, well, how does that fit into the future? Is that really necessary, and so on? But I'm going to stay away from all that, because it's something that's important to her. She wants to do it. She has her reasons. I think she would be very proud if she could accomplish that. I'm going to do everything I can to support her. She's now decided to go ahead and become a citizen, although that doesn't mean we're going to stay here the rest of our lives. I certainly don't think so. And she has her reasons for that. I had originally wanted her to do that only for travel purposes, because, depending on health issues, we may be in the Philippines someday for good. We may not be. So if we're not, maybe that degree really helps her and her job. Maybe it helps her even in the Philippines. Who knows? But since you don't know the future, I can't say don't do that. I'm for it. I'm going to support her with the school and the citizenship, and that way we can travel easier. That's that's the best thing there. As far as the citizenship, in case we want to travel, if we're full time in the Philippines, then we just go. Don't have to get a temporary short term visa somewhere. So anyway, I can be controversial, and I do talk about feminism. I don't make a big deal about it because I think everybody out there knows what it is. And conservative Christians are getting silenced these days, and talking about submission to her husband to some women is like a crime, and punishable by imprisonment. But look, your wife should be submissive to you. I mean, your children should be submissive to their parents. What kind of hell would break loose if children could just do whatever they wanted? Well, no, they have to submit to their parents. Or what if you go to work and tell your boss to, whatever? He's there to tell you what to do. And he's also responsible to other people above him for the decisions that he makes. So hopefully the point is, be real careful. Think of what's best for her, for them. Be wise, use your brain, and don't be controlling, but just say, look, I'm in charge. I'm responsible. That doesn't mean I know everything. When you marry somebody, that's your helper. She's going to be able to help you because she's a woman, and you're not, and you need a man, and she can see things and perceive things that you can't. And you need her in your life, but the man should be in charge. And if he doesn't want to be in charge and he doesn't want to be her head, then I don't think he's being much of a man in that relationship. So some of the issues that we'll talk about in our marriage comes down to that. We have a difference of opinion. So what are we going to do? Fight about it? Argue about it? Or, do we have a way to resolve that that puts the responsibility on me for what happens? I wasn't necessarily expecting any comments here, but I'd be glad to look at those. Para says, my fiance got a college degree in the Philippines, the first in her family, the youngest of 5 children, graduated this year under COVID. Still very submissive, though, and I love it. And that's good to hear on all of those accounts. Youngest of her children got her degree. She's a submissive wife. And I think Filipinas, they have that reputation, okay? Now, that doesn't mean that every Filipino out there is going to be submissive or even knows what that is. Most women anywhere, I don't know why it would make any difference on earth, wants a husband that she feels she can respect and trust and submit to, and let him make the tough decisions. That's all I want to do. I don't want to interfere with my wife. She's an individual. She figures to live a lot longer than I do. We do have a 27-year age gap. She's going to have a life after I'm gone. I don't want to get in there and interfere with it, but just the same, I am responsible. I want to make sure we make the right decisions. And if there's something I just really disagree with, I can't be afraid and say, I don't want to fight here. I got to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're just not. But that comes after explaining to her as best as I can why. And it's not something you just say without discussion and understanding how she feels about things, because the Bible says, dwell with them according to knowledge. It's 1 Peter 3:7, understand your wife. And also that degree, I think my wife is cleared for everything. You got to kind of make sure your credits carry over. And I know she took some kind of exam to see where she was, and she passed that, and she got a letter the other day saying, apparently, you're all good to go. I thought we were waiting for some stuff from the Philippines. Maybe we don't need that anymore. How to Hawaiian, the information you talk about is applicable in any relationship pertaining to couples. Appreciate that comment. I don't think you're controversial. Problem is, people are like milquetoast. Well, I guess that's one way of looking at it. To some people, yeah, what I'm saying isn't controversial. Maybe it's just practical and the way for things to function the best. But I mean, I do, and honestly, look, I can say something and rub people the wrong way without even trying to. I mean, I make no bones about this. This channel, Love Beyond the Sea, and the podcast, Casting Beyond the Sea, casting out there outside of your own country, trying to reel in someone from overseas, Casting Beyond the Sea. Those podcasts and these videos are about marriage. That's what I'm doing right now. That's what I want other people to do. That's where I think the value in a relationship comes from. Am I being controversial if I tell you that, if I say that commitment means marriage? I don't think that's controversial. I'm sure other people think it is. If someone says, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, I'm not trying to be controversial, but if I say commitment means marriage, if you've known somebody for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're not married, well, then I don't think you're committed to each other. That's just my opinion. I don't know how else to see it. I wanted to commit to my wife, so we just did it. When I got off the plane and figured out my luggage was lost in Manila, and then tried to figure out how to contact her because the Wi-Fi wasn't working there, I was committed to her. If she had shown up in a wheelchair, I would have been committed to her. I mean, I saw her on camera. I knew she wasn't crippled, but any surprises, that's what I'm getting at, wouldn't have made any difference, because when you marry her, you're probably going to come across some things you didn't know about, surprises, if you will. But if you're committed, okay, so what? If you're committed to her and she gets, ovarian cancer in, 9 months or something, you're married, well, marriage, then you're committed to her, no matter what. I mean, if she loses her mind or whatever, you're committed to her. So when people date, I guess if you want to call that, have a Filipina and they're not married, not moving toward marriage, I don't think that's commitment. So I know my wife doesn't like me to say that for some reason, but to me, that's just not committed. If you're committed, marry her. If you're not and you don't want to marry her, then don't. But let her go and find somebody that will be committed to her. So, and again, I don't have the personality. I'm just trying to make trouble. I may say things that cause trouble, but I'm not trying to do that. So, thank you guys for your comments. Al Gibbs, thank you for joining me here tonight. I'm glad you're able to see this impromptu live stream podcast. I haven't done this for I don't know, a year, maybe more. Since my back hurts and my shoulder hurts and my neck hurts, it seems like I just did this a week ago because I'm always sore, but things have changed. Al says, so important to discuss and agree over the spouse's role before tying the knot. I agree, Al, because you don't want there to be any surprises. I mean, this is your opportunity when you're dating somebody to talk about before you get too far into it. At some point, you got to open up and you got to talk about serious things. As you may have heard me before, I do have a list of questions. You can find them there at that link at the top, lvbts.com. There's a link up the top there about questions to ask right away. Icebreakers, nothing too serious, but it'll get you going and get in the flow of talking and asking questions, and that's a good thing. But then if you're clicking and it seems like, well, I need to see if we're compatible here. Maybe we are. There's another list, 30, 40 questions I have, a little more serious that you can start talking about, okay? And that'll drive you in that direction. You won't be able to say, well, I don't know what to talk about. I've got those questions there for you. Then, if you think, well, maybe we are maybe we are hitting it off here, but are we really compatible enough to get married? Then I've got a list of questions for that. And I'm not sure I've done a video on it or yet. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. I've done so many of them. I've got so many more to do. I can't always remember. I've got questions you can ask after you're married. My wife and I didn't ask a lot of questions. I mean, we got engaged in 18 days, and then it was just like, okay, we got to get married now. And there's a lot of things we didn't talk about. There's a lot of questions I didn't ask. Now, it's okay because I'm not going anywhere and she's not going anywhere. But it is important to talk about things. And I think people that are in 3, 4, 5-year relationships and they're not even married probably aren't talking about a lot of important things because they don't want to ruin what they have. They don't want to take it to the next level. I don't understand that. Okay. So once in a while, I mean, I come from things from a Christian perspective, and I don't hate non-believers or anything like that. This is my perspective. If I say something, well, the Bible says this is wrong, then I'm saying my source for truth tells me this is wrong. This is not me. I'm not smart enough to figure out right from wrong. So I come from that perspective. And so tomorrow, get back here at 5 o'clock, and I'll do a live stream. I should put a promo out on Podbean and Facebook, just saying that I'm going to be doing this live stream called The Type of a Man a Filipina Falls in love with. And so that will be tomorrow. And if there's any more questions, anybody wants to know anything, just let me know. I'm glad you're here, and I would like to see everybody back. Let people know I'm going to be here tomorrow. Just letting people know my hair is real. It doesn't always look great, but my hair is real. Next thing you know, somebody will be saying my beard is fake too. But it is not fake. And yes, I do have sex more than twice a year at most. Those are just some of the things swirling around out there about me. And so that is just not true. So again, I'll be making this book available to people at a very fair price one of these days, called Meant to Be, a Match Made in Heaven. All the evidence you could possibly need that a Filipina makes a great wife and how to stay married to her is going to be in that book. So look for that. I've got to do something for this shoulder. And thank you, everybody, for being here. So tomorrow, stay tuned. We'll just see how it goes. 5 p.m. I'm glad you were able to be here today for that, although I don't think I started at 5. Judging by the clock here, I think I started around 6:15. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll either be 5 or 6. That'll be tomorrow, The Type of Man a Filipina Falls in Love with. Stay tuned for that. Please subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. And I think everybody here must have those notifications. If you knew about this unannounced live stream, check out the podcast there in case you have missed something and just want to play the podcast. You can do whatever you need to do around the house. That's what I do when I listen to those, so I don't have to be at the computer. I just let it play. Those are there on Casting Beyond the Sea. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for the thumbs up. And we will see you here hopefully tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central Time, USA. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow.